Good morning, everybody. You're very welcome to the first MANRS Community Meeting of 2026. My name is Nick Hilliard. I am Deputy Chair of the MANRS Steering Committee, and my day job is Chief Technical Officer at INEX. INEX is an internet exchange based in Dublin, and one of the things you may know INEX for is IXP Manager, which is the peering platform used by a very large number of internet exchanges throughout the world. So I'd like to welcome everybody, and in particular the people presenting. We have quite a lot to get through today, and I think we're going to start off with Andre. Andre is the Technical Director of the Internet Integrity Program at Global Cyber Alliance, which operates MANRS. And Andre is going to start off with updates from the Secretariat. I'd like to particularly call out the Secretariat. They work very quietly and very efficiently in the background, and they do an awful lot of work which people don't necessarily see. But certainly from the point of view of the steering committee, we see it and we really appreciate it. So I'm going to hand over to Andre, and he's going to run you through some what they've been doing in the Secretariat.
Thank you, Nick, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm Andrei Robachevsky. I work for Global Cyber Alliance, that's the Secretariat of MANRS. And we'll give you a short update on the recent developments in the MANRS initiative. All right, well, let's start with the Network Operators Program review that we just recently started. But before I go into the meat of this, and next slide, please, Alejandro. I'd like to talk about some work we've done before as foundational work, which is maybe sounds a bit formal and dry, but it's an important foundation that we laid together as community before heading for the review. Next slide. So as you know, there are many documents you can find on the MANRS website. Some of them even don't look like a document, like the most foundational pieces as MANRS Action. They look like a web page. And also, it's not very clear, or weren't very clear before, how those documents came to life, who contributed, how they were developed, and what consensus, if any, they represent. And to overcome this and make a more structured view on MANRS specifications and their status, last year, we as a community developed what we call the MANRS development process. That's a standard process, a formal process that we follow from now on when we develop or update MANRS specifications. There are two types of specifications. One is normative, which is MANRS actions, for instance, that really is the rules of MANRS engagement. And other type are informational, which is, well, let's say, Network Operators Guide or IXP Implementation Guide, which provides guidance, recommended stuff. So we developed, and the steering committee adopted this MANRS development process. And the two documents we actually reviewed or developed using this process was the MDP, or MANRS development process itself, and the new charter, updated charter. That was the new undertaking that took some time. And I think it contains some changes, and thank you for the community for contributing to this. But now we have two new documents that were followed through the MDP process. And then we ask ourselves a question. So what happens with the rest of the application of specifications? Should we wait till they come to review and update to engage with the MDP? Or should we right now produce a structured library of MANRS documentation and MANRS specifications by just adopting the naming scheme for MANRS? And there are several objectives that this effort would have and actually achieved First, the transparency. So every specification has a name and clear place in the MANRS hierarchy, so the community can trace how specifications evolve over time. So the versioning is there, the naming is there. Stability. So each document gets a stable versioned reference point. It's not a web page you refer, but it's really the name of the document in the MANRS hierarchy. Consistency. So all MANRS actions and materials related follow the same structure, naming scheme, and the same metadata. And that, in fact, forms a foundation for future reviews. So we're not starting with a web page, we're starting with already an existing specification. So the next version of that specification will get the appropriate name, and community can trace the evolution of that particular thing. Next slide, please. All right, so that's what we've done after the MDP was adopted. And after we renamed all the documents, now you can see all the lineup. This lineup doesn't include two first documents I mentioned, which is the MANRS development process itself, which was the first MDP document specification, and the MANRS updated charter, which was the second one. But starting from the third document, without updating the document content itself, we changed the naming scheme. So that sounds like a minor thing, but it's a very good starting point if we plan to review and modify those specifications. So any modification, any update is now clearly traced, because it will get another version of the document, another name of this document. Next slide, please. So with that, we felt we are ready for review, and some of the MANRS actions, some of the MANRS programs, they're quite old, I would say mature, but it's good to have a look at the requirements once in a while and just see if they still in line with the technology development, if they still in line with the aspirations of the community. But before just jumping and saying, oh, let's review this program, or let's review that program, what was decided is to gauge community interest in and priorities in how they see the programs of MANRS and where the priority lies. So it was very clear when we launched the survey to get this feedback from the community that it's not the review of actions themselves. So the survey is very high level, and thank you very much for those who participate and voice their opinion. So it's not really going into the substance, but it's more looking at different programs that MANRS has and saying, well, this needs review, and what is the scope of this review? Next slide, please. Almost 40 people participate and voice their opinion. Most of the respondents were from network operators, and that's the biggest program, so that's not surprisingly, but it followed by XPs and CDN cloud providers. Almost half of respondents have been participants from 1 to 5 years. So it's not newcomers, it's people that already have good experience in MANRS. And 34% for more than 5 years. So really sort of they saw the evolution of MANRS over a longer time stretch. And a small portion of were not participants or those who are planning to join, because as you know that MANRS community includes not only participants, participating networks, but also individuals and organizations that are interested in routing security and MANRS. Next slide, please. So the main message we got from the survey is that the MANRS actions in general, they fit for purpose. There was no indication that they require significant revamp of the scope or significant change of the structure. And that's the red color on this chart, which didn't got into the legend for some reason. But as you can see that 50% of respondents ranked the NetOps program as their top priority for review, followed by the IXP program. And they indicate that review should focus on precision and clarity and stronger auditing requirements rather than changing the scope of the actions. So it didn't indicate raising the bar so much. Although there were comments that we need to look at current technology developments, the new standards, new technologies that are being adopted, to see if maybe some more clarity and maybe some additional requirements can come into life with this review. But in general, the bar, and as you know, I just want to repeat this once again, that MANRS is not the best current practice as it might look, but it's a minimum baseline. And of course, many of the MANRS participants, they implement much more than what MANRS requires. But the idea is to raise the bar for a broader adoption rather than create an elitary club for a few real leaders in routing security space. Next slide, please. We also asked 2 questions about the adoption. So when we introduce new set of actions, what happens with people that already sign up and join MANRS with the old set? And there were 2 options. One option is that there is only one set of MANRS actions, and you are given a grace period over which you have to comply, right? So you can get your backyard in order and comply with the new set. Or we say, okay, we'll introduce versioning of actions. So you can say, I'm complying with this version of actions, or I'm complying with this version, but the new version of MANRS actions. I think slight preference was really slight. It was a split, but in favor for one single set, which creates more clarity and a grace period. So people will be given some time to update their operation procedures and comply with the new set. Similarly, we ask a question, so what happens to those who are non-compliant? And as you know, in MANRS, we take a laissez-faire approach in a way that we don't expel organizations. We don't have a process for this maybe yet. That's up to you, up to community. But what we do, we publish the score. So if people can live with bad publicity, that's their choice. But everyone can see who is in MANRS up to scratch and who is not compliant. And again, there was a 50-50 almost split with such preference for the existing approach where we don't expel organizations, but they probably are deciding to leave themselves because of the bad publicity if they cannot keep conformance up to on the required level. Next slide, please. So that's with all these foundational pieces, we were ready for review of the NetOps program. Next slide. And just to remind you, what is the NetOps program is, it's the most broad program in the MANRS family. That was the first program that was created. It was created when the MANRS was launched in 2014 with 9 network operators, but now we have almost 1,000. So 4 actions. One is optional anti-spoofing, but 3 other actions are mandatory. They start with filtering, which basically requires a network operator to take actions or specific controls to prevent incorrect routing information from being accepted and propagated in the internet. Action 2, anti-spoofing, which requires to have controls to prevent or to have source address validation, prevent spoof traffic from exiting the network. Action 3, coordination, so their contacts and they're responsive. And finally, routing information that requires that you publish your intent or routing policy in different repositories such as Internet Routing System or RPKI. Next slide, please. So the process has begun. We follow the MDP, so the process is clear, the stages are clear. The proposal for review was submitted to the steering committee in April. The steering committee has announced this proposal, so if you're subscribed to the MANRS community mailing list, you have seen that. And the steering committee charted a working group. The group formation has been finalized. In fact, we already held 2 meetings, 2 calls. We have more than 20 participants, good experts, a lot of expertise there. You can look at the charter. The charter is tightly scoped, following the survey, the results of the survey. So this is work underway, and the plan, pretty ambitious, but we hope we can achieve that, is by the end of Q3, we'll be able to present the draft to the community following the MDP again. All right, next slide, please. So I think that finishes this first part. I don't know, Alejandro or Nick, should we maybe pause and see if people have any questions on that part?
Yeah, I think so. I think that would be a very good idea. So does anybody have any questions on the actions of the Secretariat?
I have a question, guys. You said MANRS is the minimum security base, so some operators have more, let's say, more security on their service or on their environment. So can you explain more about MANRS on that base specifically, please?
I can try first, and then maybe Nico, Alejandra can fill the gaps. So there are many operational best practices that exist in the world, right? And they cover a broad scope of network security and routing security in particular. Just to give you one example, for instance, device security or session security is not part of MANRS actions, while this is equally important. When MANRS was developed, the idea was to create a very concise and essential set of actions that are essential for improving routing security if adopted widely. So what we used to say is that the breadth of adoption is more important than the high of the bar, right? So of course, we're not looking for a common denominator, because the common denominator will not make any difference, but we are looking for a set of requirements that we can maybe require any network or majority of the networks operating on the internet to implement. Let me give you another example. There is a new technology in the work. It soon will be a standard, which is called ASPA, which is a very good technology for improving routing security, but it is not fully supported by vendors. There is not enough operational experience. It's being adopted, but it's not at the level that probably will be adopted by MANRS. So MANRS addresses a baseline that is non-contentious, which is a global consensus, and for which there is enough operational practice, so we can reasonably assume that any network on the internet should be able to implement this set. So that's why we call it minimum. But if you look at the MANRS actions, and if you imagine that maybe majority of networks implement those actions, you'll realize that that will be a significant improvement in the internet routing security, and that will lead to significant decrease in routing security incidents. Nick, Alejandro, would you like to add something?
I don't think so. Well, maybe. I mean, the bigger picture, of course, is making sure that when you try to contact somebody or something over the internet, that your packets actually arrive at the destination that you intend them to get to, rather than them being hijacked or going astray otherwise. And I think everybody has seen media reports about internet hijacking incidents. These are very serious because if we can't be assured that data is actually safe to transmit on the internet, then that devalues the whole of the internet. So this is a very baseline standard to try and ensure that, you know, when we are working on the internet, that our packets get from A to B and back again. And without that, the internet is very much devalued.
So the
So
minimum
does that
is
answer your question?
so the minimum it's already high. It's mean, right?
The minimum standard is defined in the three programs that we have: the IXP operators program, the content and cloud provider program, and the network operators program. And I think if all of those industry segments, the network operators, CDNs, and cloud providers, and the ISPs implemented everything, we'd really have a quite a secure internet, and that's what we're working towards.
I just want to say I shared a link to the history of MANRS and how it was built, and you can see step by step, started 12 years ago. And if you have any questions, I can share my email address, and we can, if you are considering joining, or just feel free to reach out. We can help you through the process and find it.
Alejandro, I think it's better to share the Secretariat, the contact at manrs.org, so any inquiries can go there. And
yes. Okay.
I also shared the actions, the actual requirements, so you can read this document. This document is in fact, that's what I was telling, is under review, so it will be updated. But at the moment, that's the normative document that is required for network operators. Well, a similar document if you're an internet exchange point, or if you're a CDN or cloud provider, as Nick said, they're separate requirements. They're similar but different. But for networks, general requirement is if you follow this URL. Now, if you're interested and if you feel that you can comply, please don't hesitate and click on the join button and fill out the form. So when we receive your application, we will be able to run an audit report for you and maybe highlight some of the shortcomings, if any, and work together with you on fixing this. So you can join MANRS and be compliant. And the benefit for you is that, first of all, you will get your operations up to scratch. You will improve your operations. If there is something to improve, again, it's not necessary. I mean, maybe you're already compliant, so you can just join. And you will join this community of operators. You will be able to, put a badge on your website and claim that you're a MANRS participant, which indicates sort of your responsibility as part of this ecosystem and you good operational practices, which is certainly valued by the community.
Okay, I think that probably answers the question. So thank you very much, Andre, for the updates. And that actually quite neatly segues into the next section, which is introducing MANRS Enterprise, also being presented by Andre. So as he said in his previous update, there are three programs at the moment, and there is now movement to look at going into a fourth vertical, which is MANRS Enterprise, so broadening the scope of MANRS and making it applicable to other parts of the internet. So take it away, Andre.
Thank you, Nick. And I think we can move to the next slide right away. And the next slide right away. Yes. So a few years ago, we indeed focused more on the customer-provider relationship with an idea that, look, that is where demand comes from or should come from. That's where money flows. And if we create a high tier, it might create additional value for MANRS participants who want to join this tier because they will meet the demands of their customers and therefore benefit more from MANRS Plus participation. Well, it was called MANRS Plus at the time. So that's the whole idea, focus on enterprise customers in various industry sectors and specifically not in telecom. Extend the requirements, broader set of risks. We just talked about the MANRS baseline, but okay, if you look at the enterprise, there may be some other things that are equally important for them that we need to extend beyond this baseline. And also conditioned to include in common information security frameworks. The enterprises and especially organizations that are not part of telecom industry, they don't see sort of routing as a profound part of their operations. Their focuses and their businesses completely different. But what is important is that if the requirements and conditions and can be included and understood by like a CISO, for instance, of an organization, and can be included in common frameworks, that makes adoption of those requirements much easier. And of course, what is also important is that you're not going and checking everything yourself. You achieve this transparency and visibility and abilities of your connectivity provider by obtaining high level of assurance of conformance from the initiative. As you know, with MANRS, we have certain assurance. We have MANRS Observatory, where interested parties can look at the how networks behave. And we also publish the scores, which indicate to what level MANRS participants are conformant. But there is room for improvement. So if we want to achieve a higher level of conformance, we need to implement new tools and new requirements for auditing that MANRS Plus participants would commit to. And that was the sort of the rationale for creating the MANRS Plus effort. And there was a working group. Well, there's still this working group, MANRS Plus, and a few years ago it released the outputs. Next slide, please. So it creates this metrics, control metrics, which we call MANRS Plus control metrics. And maybe Alejandro can share a link to the metrics in the chat if people are interested. It is congruent to MANRS, but as I mentioned, it represents a higher baseline. The requirements are more stringent. The auditing requirements are more explicit. So it's really, you can understand what being audited and how. And it contains more controls than just MANRS actions. So it contains, it also covers things like denial of service attack, mitigation. It also covers things like security services that enterprise might benefit from. Next slide, please. So we finished this work in MANRS Plus, and then the problem was, what about the enterprise? What about the receiving side, the sort of the customers of connectivity providers? And what we discovered on that way is that there was lack of demand. And that is, in fact, considered by connectivity providers one of the showstoppers in deploying effective routing security controls. Just to give you one example, for instance, we are aware of RPKI and ROA standards and technologies. They're getting good rate of adoption, so that's very good. But many of the enterprises, and specifically enterprises that are outside, again, telecom sector, they're really not aware of this. And if they do not do their part, if they don't register ROAS, for instance, in RPKI, it is very difficult. It's more difficult for enterprise to implement effective routing security controls and protect those enterprises from potential hijacks and route leaks. Next slide, please. So our focus moved to enterprises. And the problem there, if they look at the routing system, and to your right, you see a wonderful diagram created by CADA, where each of the dots represents an autonomous system and their interconnections. And the closer you to the core, the more customers you have. So those are like at the very core, tier 1 providers. And the perimeter of this diagram is the enterprise as well. Enterprises in a broad sense of the word, it's edge networks. Many of them, well, enterprise are predominantly edge networks. So when this edge looks at this, interconnected core, they wonder, okay, you talk about routing security, but who owns the risk? All 78,000 networks, and that's the rough number of autonomous systems that operate in the global routing system. Your direct connectivity, cloud content delivery network provider, or you as an enterprise yourself. That question is often not answered. It's unclear. As a result, we see a lack of demand from the customer side, demand side. It's rarely covered, routing security, rarely covered in risk assessment or SLAs. It's often perceived as being outside organization direct control and therefore not our problem. And vendor risk frameworks often do not cover routing layer. So basically it's like, overall covered by an SLA with regards to performance, but no specific checks to what extent your connectivity provider implements routing security controls is there. Next slide, please. And as a result, well, we did some research and we looked at the Fortune 500 companies in different sectors in top 10. And we discovered that, look, finance, health, and even automotive, which performs much better than the rest, I think because of this technological nature of the industry. If we look at RPKI ROAS registrations, what I mentioned before, that really enables better security for enterprises and enables their connectivity providers to implement effective routing security controls, you can see that this registration there almost all lagging behind. Next slide, please. But if you look at real enterprise connectivity architecture, whether they're SD-WAN, whether it's connection to cloud, CDN or denial of service mitigation platforms, or simply direct internet delivery, you can see that the internet for enterprise are much smaller than the diagram I presented on the previous slide. So that draws two interesting conclusions. One conclusion, it is your problem and you can exercise some control over your fate in the routing space. And the second one is routing security for enterprises. If you look at the increasing importance of, assets that allocate outside your perimeter, that allocate somewhere in the cloud, in the internet, in your partner network, routing security becomes part of your supply chain security. And this changes the message because the message is much more easier understood by general CISO, not a network operators expert, but a general practitioner and in organization security. Next slide, please. Yes, so routing security, in fact, is supply chain security, right? This is dependency that must be governed by the enterprises the same way they manage software supply chain or any other supply chain they rely on. So the question becomes, is your connectivity CDN or cloud provider the first line of defense or your weakest link? Next slide, please. So this is a good question, but then the question is how you answer it, how you detect if your connectivity provider, your defense line, and not your weakest link. So there is no real enterprise-driven standard for what good looks, both on the connectivity provider side and on enterprise side. Luckily, we complete this MANRS Plus effort, and we have this MANRS control metrics, MANRS Plus control metrics, which answers the question maybe what you should request from the connectivity provider, but it's still silent about what is required on the enterprise side. So the idea now, and this is what Nick said about the fourth, but in fact the fifth program that we are going to create or planning to create to address specific needs of enterprise. And what we are looking at is to bring together a small group of enterprise security and network leaders to define the standard, to define the set of actions that enterprise should comply to improve their security and not at least that improve security of the global internet. We do this always as a community. So we always form a working group. It's not the Secretariat that develops those practices, it's not even the steering committee, but it is the community. So if you are interested in this, and maybe that's the next slide that I'm already referring to. Yes. If you're a senior practitioner for enterprise security, network and risk teams, particularly if you're not in telecom sector or you know someone who might be interested, please let them know. And please ask them to contact us at contact@manrs.org to join this discussion, to join this development, join this process, and ensure that the requirements would reflect not some abstract ideas, but real enterprise needs. You will influence how routing security is integrated in procurement risk frameworks from your experience and help to create a level playing field for provider accountability. And I think that is my last slide on that subject. Indeed, it is. So Nick, maybe again, a pause and see if people have any questions or remarks.
Yeah, very much so. So any questions?
Hello. So I just have some suggestions. I think that it's difficult for each network operators in the enterprise to know all the knowledge. So I suggest if we can establish a scoring system for IXPs and ISPs based on the indicators we as you have just discussed. So we can give them a score for each IXP and ISP. So when enterprise network, they connect to their provider, they can know this the provider's score. They can choose ISP with higher score. Also, I suggest that we don't just score the SAS that has joined MANRS. We can scoring all the SA, so we can give them a score. So this is I think this is some kind of encourage or some criticism for them to improve. So that's just some suggestion from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. If I understood your suggestion, you suggest more transparency so people can make informed choices, or organizations can make informed choices based on their commitment to MANRS. And in fact, that is one of the objectives of the MANRS Plus, to provide more transparency with high level of assurance, so enterprises can either choose their connectivity provider or point to MANRS Plus requirements and say, hey, like when you do a tender or when you sign a contract with your connectivity provider, make sure that those requirements are included. And the bonus point is that with MANRS Plus, you also get a way, tools to check that those compliance requirements are followed by your connectivity provider in the long term. So it's like continuous auditing there. That is absolutely right. So the MANRS Enterprise program, it builds on that, because the missing link here is the awareness from the enterprise. So if enterprise in general is not aware of MANRS Plus or importance of routing security or importance of those requirements, things simply do not work this way. So that is exactly the point of MANRS Plus Enterprise program. Also to ensure that some of the important requirements that are on the enterprise side, because in routing security, it takes 2 to tango at least, and at most 78,000 to tango. But enterprise side is also up to scratch. I hope that answers your question, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for that. I want to make one comment about this, and that is that over the last couple of years, we've seen a huge amount of additional legislation in various parts of the world, particularly in the European Union area. And this legislation has identified supply chain security as critical to the operation of general industry. In particular, there's legislation like DORA, the Digital Operation Resilient Act, which applies to financial institutions. There's the Network Information Security Regulations, NIS 2, and there is the Critical Entity Regulations, which define the importance of businesses operating inside the EU. Now, this is relevant because if you are a supplier to any organization which is covered by DORA, and to a lesser extent by NIS 2 or CER, you can find yourself caught up within scope. So even though these regulations may not apply directly to enterprises, they can very much apply indirectly to regulation to enterprises. And if the industry does not define decent standards, good quality standards for routing security, which is just one area that enterprises need to smarten up in, somebody else will. So I think it's very important for an organization like MANRS to engage in this and to set the standard, because we have the expertise within the organization. We know what to do, and we know how to engage, and we know what to say. So this is the context. This provides the context for why this is actually important and why it will have legal repercussions for many organizations globally in the future. So are there any further questions on what Andre was talking about? Okay, no, all right. Well, let's dive into the next presentation, which is from Alejandro, and he's just going to talk about engagement. So off.
If I manage to unmute. Do you hear me? Good. So hello, everybody. Thank you. I will try to go quickly here because I would like to leave some time to go through the new observatory. Scott is our colleague Scott is gonna present it. So I'm sure you'll be curious about it. So I'm gonna cover a bit of the engagement activities we've had and some of the figures, yeah, to especially for newcomers, to show you how large this initiative is, yeah. So and how much it's grown, yeah, in the last 2 years. So let's see some data. Yeah, that's the usual. For those who come here for the first time, it's kind of a usual report, yeah, on our growth. But we're gonna introduce some updates on the new things coming up. Okay, so MANRS started in 2014, yeah, almost 12 years ago, and it started with 13 network operators. Now it's past 1,300, yeah. So the growth has been, well, more than 100 times. Yeah, it's a massive achievement. Yeah, you can see I love this chart because it's really revealing how this growth has been happening in the last years, and especially with the inclusion of the new programs. Yeah, we started with network operators, and you got the IXPs like Nick, then the CDNs, content delivery networks, and cloud services. And here you don't see it very well, but there's also vendors. Yeah, the vendors have been installed for a while, but not so many of them anyway. So this is how things evolved, and this is how things have evolved since 2024. That's when the Global South Alliance took over the Secretariat functions from Internet Society. Yeah, so since we took over, it's been almost 24% growth. Yeah, in the last 2.5 years, which is, I think, they are good figures. Yeah. Program by program, network operators, they grow above the average. That's the first one here. Then we have cloud services, a bit lower, but also growing steadily. And IXPs also growing very fast. Yeah, IXPs, for instance, we moved from 134 in 2024 to 161, which is a leap. And then for equipment vendors, well, they have been in 6 original founders, and they stay like that. When the new MANRS Enterprise program comes into action, hopefully, we've added to this list of participants. This growth has been global. Yeah, it's not something of a few countries. Some countries obviously stand out, Brazil and the United States. We see a lot of uptake in the European Union, probably because of the regulatory pressure and the interest of the European Commission on the topic. You see Germany, Netherlands, Italy, France, yeah, among the top. This is the number of new participants by country. Yeah? Those figures, you have to take into account that some participants belong to several countries. Yeah, so see this. So yeah, the figures are nice. Some areas are growing more than the others, but if you can see, we have all RIRs, all continents covered. Yeah, which is also very interesting. This is a very global effort. Yeah, so for those coming for the first time, I don't see Yemen and Saudi Arabia covered, but there you are. So maybe you can join. Yeah, in the next round. So year by year, since Global South Alliance took the Secretariat functions, growth has been getting flat. Yeah, lately. Yeah, in 2024 we had a growth of 11 new participants per month. 2025 it went to 8.4, and now in the first 5 months of 2026 we've had 5.4. Yeah, on average per month. If you see here, we believe that the new observatory is gonna help increase those figures, but we also need to do some targeted action, yeah, to keep the initiative growing. I think we are far from reaching the ceiling, so we have to keep on growing and to keep on doing things. There are some ideas in a few slides, yeah. But it's significant to know that the processes they've been like bottlenecking, yeah. In the application processes in 2025, there were 1.7 application processes for every final participant, whereas in 2026 it's gone a bit higher to 2.0. The new observatory is going to cover that in the next slide, is making this process easier. So we hope we will be able to get those numbers higher. But also, as I said, we're going to do also targeted actions, yeah, to see how keep it growing. We're also traveling a lot. Not all of us, not only Global South Alliance. This also includes activities around MANRS with our steering committee members and with initiatives that are promoting the organizations that are promoting the initiative. Yeah. Since Global South Alliance took over the Secretariat, we've been in 36 countries, sometimes virtually, not always physically, and we've repeated many countries. Yeah, the US is a common place where we go speak. And in 2026, we've visited 7 countries already. Yeah, they are the ones in the darker color, the map. We just came last week from Spain, from Sevilla. So this is growing every year. We have managed to cover all the RIR regions. Sorry, this year we haven't been to Africa yet, or yeah, in LACNIC region. Yeah, there was one steering committee member speaking at the LACNIC event, but we are missing Africa. But have the rest of the year. So we hope we will cover that. Yeah. So if you are aware of any events, any activities, webinars, sessions, please let us know. Contact us, and we will add them to the list. Yeah. We are, as I said, we are always open to present MANRS for the first time or to cover more advanced topics like MANRS Enterprise, which was just presented in Germany a few weeks ago with Andre. So the good thing about this is that collectively we are having an impact. Yeah, we love this chart because it shows how the number of incidents and culprits go down. They've gone down since 2023 to now. You see how the incidence is the darker blue and the culprits is the red-orange. They have gone clearly down. Whereas the participation, which is the blue line on top, it's gone slowly higher. We cannot claim that it's just because of MANRS, but there is a correlation there, and it's a correlation we like, yeah. And we have other indicators. You're going to see them through the MANRS Observatory, and you'll see how they show similar trends in other aspects, yeah, of routine security and the global health of the internet in general, yeah. The more participants we have, the better things work, yeah, and the less number of incidents we get. So I think it's a good sign of progress, and I think we have to keep on working that. As I said, the European Commission is very interested in these figures. They are checking the uptake within the European Union, also in terms of measuring compliance with all those new requirements that Nick was highlighting. And there's also one chart that we haven't included here, but it shows that the preparedness of MANRS participants on the new indicators, new initiatives around routine security is higher than the average network operator. So collectively, we are doing well in that sense too. Yeah. So okay, I said that we are growing organically. The growth is like getting a bit flat. We believe that the processes have something to do. So now that we have a new observatory in place, the process will be smoother, and we'll probably see some uptake, some increased numbers in participation. But we also want to intervene in growth. Yeah, we want to start some initiatives that will support that growth. Yeah. First one is improving the processes that I covered that one. Also increase the participation of the community in everything we do. This is why the MANRS development process, the MDP that Andre was covering before, is so important, because it gets people a chance to speak and to vote and to participate in the debates. We are very happy about the network operators program review. We got a lot of applications, and it means that people really care about the initiative. Last year, we've had, well, in the last 2 years and a half, we've had 3 voting processes that had a lot of good turnout, yeah, a lot of participants. In one of them, we validated a new charter, like more than 2/3 of the participants, they validated it, and also the MDP process and this review process. So we are very happy about participation, and we believe that if we get existing participants more involved, that's going to help bring other participants into the game. Yeah. So if you're an active participant of Domain Trust, please bring of MANRS, please bring your peers, please bring your organizations that are in your ecosystem and try to bring them forward, because this will only work if everybody is participating. Yeah, it's a collective action issue. So we are also, as Andre said, we are also opening to new audiences, especially, well, through MANRS Enterprise, the supply chains. In this case, the idea is to move MANRS not to the side of the offer, but also to the side of demand. So for critical infrastructure operators, for financial institutions, there is a whole market of organizations that could be interested in improving the routine security in their supply chains. Yeah. That's a new conversation. We are very excited about the feedback we're getting from organizations like ECHO in Germany. They hosted a session a few weeks ago, and we are also having requests. After that session, we're getting requests from other important forums where we're going to participate, and we're going to keep on spreading the word about this new program that we are hoping to activate. Also, well, as you know, Global Star Alliance took over, and MANRS is now the inspiration of what we call the Internet Integrity Program. That's Global South Alliance work on the names, numbers, and routes, which is the domain name space, the IP address space, and the routing security. MANRS has been inspirational, and we are trying to find synergies by bringing the other two worlds together, either by crossing data and creating data solutions and data initiatives. We have data on also not only on routing security, but also on domain abuse and on IP address abuse. And we believe that by combining those, we can produce very interesting insights and outputs, we call them, yeah, for MANRS participants and for the participants in the other initiatives. We are also building something called Currents. We will give you a description of that once it's ready, but it's basically a storytelling initiative that goes from the global health of the internet, or lack of health, to through the actions that are happening in different spaces of the internet and the results those actions are having. We are building that at this moment. If anybody's interested in, if you have metrics or any initiatives that talk about the connection between, we call it pollution, action, drivers, that is the things that we think specific countries help those actions have more impact and the outcomes. If you have any information about that, please reach out and we'll be happy to activate the conversation with you. One more initiative we are setting in motion now. I don't know if those who've been involved in MANRS for a longer time, you may remember that there was a MANRS Ambassador program. When the transition to Global South Alliance started, we paused it because it was, well, digesting MANRS was quite an effort, and completing the transition, including the new MANRS Observatory, has been a lot of work. But now that the MANRS Observatory is there and the new observatory is there, we want to reactivate the MANRS Ambassador program. We are going to do it instead of globally as it used to be, or regionally. We're going to do it in a country by country base, at least in the beginning. And we have a first pilot in the making. Hopefully soon we will be able to announce it, and it's going to happen in Mexico, which is a country that we've been involved for a while, and there is good appetite for something like that. Yeah, so we may have our new round of ambassadors starting in Mexico and hopefully going to other countries. We are getting similar conversations also in Central America, in parts of Central Asia, in Africa, and also in the Asia Pacific region. Yeah. So if you have any ideas or any thoughts, or you think your country or you have a good ecosystem of experts and people that could help there, just reach out. Yeah. And Nick was mentioning that there is a lot of in the European Commission, there's a lot of regulatory initiatives that are paving the ground for MANRS, or for better MANRS, or for the people that have managed to participate in the European market, which is a huge market, as you know. And well, that has brought us, Andre and I, we are participating in something called the Multi-Stakeholder Forum on Internet Standards Deployment, which is an initiative by the European Commission, in which they are identifying existing initiatives and standards that would support the implementation of those regulations, especially NIS2. We meet every 3 months. For those interested, I will share a link later and you see what is happening there. We're going to go to Brussels next week, I think is the next meeting. So it's an interesting debate. And well, MANRS, for those who are not aware, was officially invited to join. Yeah, the RIPE event in Lisbon, I think it was. They really asked us to please join this effort because we would like to have MANRS covering the most important aspects on routing security. So that's an interesting initiative, and it's going to give us also some visibility and especially within Europe. And well, the last aspect is sustainability. Those who were in the November meeting, you will remember that we are about to launch, we had designed a sponsorship campaign. The idea is when Global South Alliance took over the initiative from Internet Society, the Internet Society gave us some funding to run the program, the initiative, for a few years. Yeah, but there was also the commitment of keeping it sustainable. You know, and that's the idea. MANRS has always been free, and it will be free forever. We hope so. Participants didn't need to pay any money to get certified, but we are also aware of the need of getting the initiative costs money, and it takes a lot of resources. You'll see the new observatory, you will understand. So we have we are working now with a marketing agency, and we're gonna launch the campaign very soon, probably in the next 2-3 weeks. So you will be, if you're a small organization, you'll be given a chance to participate and to show your logo next to the larger organizations that have already confirmed their participation. Yeah, so we have some good names, and we hope those will help smaller players to showcase their pride to be part of the MANRS initiative. It's a voluntary campaign, and sponsoring ranges from 1,500 a year to all the way up to 250,000 a year. So either if you're big or small, you will have a chance to participate if you want. So I will get you informed on that. But we are very excited because we believe the community will react positively to it. And I think that's it. I don't know if there are any questions.
Okay.
I have one question. So as we are ISP, we have customer behind us that has their own ASN and doing the BGP. So they can also join the MANRS, right? Just to make sure. Also, we can contact our customer, try to let's say give them the knowledge about the MANRS, and will be good thing that they can join and will be benefit for them, right? Just okay, perfect.
That's the idea. That's what we are trying to do. Like everybody, you have clients or customers, or you have peers that are not in MANRS yet. So just make sure that they at least they are aware of the initiative and they want to start the process. Yeah, because that's the way to go, because it will have a positive impact in your own routing security. Yeah, because everybody's interconnected. So that's exactly what we want. So if you have ideas, just names, just forward them to us, share the links we shared before, and that'll make it. You can make the community grow like that.
So we can contact them and give you their contact number, and they can start the communication, right? Perfect.
Yeah,
okay.
that'll be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Alejandro. We're running a little bit behind in time, so let's press on with the update from Scott about the new MANRS Observatory. The MANRS Observatory is the platform which is used to measure the compliance of MANRS readiness, and it's just received a major update. It is looking extremely slick, and I have to say I am well impressed with it. So Scott, it's all yours.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Alejandro, and thank you.
I will. Yeah.
I will share my screen. Cool. You should be able to see my screen. And let me pull up the MANRS Observatory. We're extremely excited in all of the GCA and engineering team to kind of have this launched and to showcase it, because it's been a tremendous effort from the dev team. We spent a lot of dev hours trying to rebuild MANRS kind of from the ground up, but keeping the core of everything that it previously was. This showcase will probably be most exciting to people who have engaged with the old observatory. Even right now, seeing the new screen, you'll tell it's had a facelift. We've kept a lot of the components the same. So if you are familiar with the old observatory, everything should still make sense, and everything is in roughly the same place that you would be used to. The main things you will see is that it's just a lot more performant. As Alejandro was mentioning about the sustainability, this rewrite actually ties into that, because the old observatory was actually two parts. The observatory that you see right here And then you had the telescope project, which was responsible for pulling massive amounts of these data from these data sources and compiling all of the metrics you see on the dashboard. There were two projects, and as it's been mentioned, we inherited it from the Internet Society. We had funding to then maintain it. But it definitely posed some issues because it was written in a different tech stack that our dev team was used to. And it originated from a POC that then grew into a big project that you see today. So there was a lot of tech debt that we as a dev team had to maintain and work on. And many people will actually understand that new features to MANRS haven't actually been rolled out. And that is one big issue that we've solved with this rewrite. We've consolidated everything. Our infrastructure costs have gone down because of the rewrite and the optimizations. And from a visual perspective, it is just a lot more snappier and quicker. So I think anyone who's actually engaged with the observatory will now see that the new site is a lot more quicker with everything that you can do. So I'll quickly walk you through all of the pages of the MANRS Observatory, because definitely the previous slides are really great, but it is quite hard to visualize it in the abstract. And that's why the observatory is so important, because we talk about ROA, we talk about RPKI, we talk about all of these readiness scores. But unless you have this observatory and you're talking in the abstract, it's hard to really connect it with routing security. And this is what we think we've kind of been a bit handicapped with in the past, because the observatory was really great, but it was really slow, and it was quite hard to get that engagement we were looking for in some aspects. So we think this new rewrite is actually going to be a big booster to engagement and getting adoption and getting more participants to the MANRS initiative. So if we look at the overview page, we can see a breakdown of all of the readiness scores on a global perspective, and we can filter based on different months, and you'll see that the percentages changes. You'll see breakdowns of bogan announcement, misoriginations, and everything that actually goes into the readiness scores and the metrics. And then quite a visually engaging part is this world map, where you can kind of see the hot zones and what economies are actually contributing to the readiness scores. And then you can filter it based on incidents, culprits. So that view was showing where is the proportion of ASNs, but then you can see where the incidents are occurring. And as you can see, it loosely correlates to the number of ASNs, because more ASNs, the more chances of incidents happening. And then you can also change the grouping. So you can see we have different categories that you can filter on. One page that I think is quite useful is the history breakdown of all of these metrics. Quite an interesting one is the participants metrics. So this is people joining MANRS, and as you can see, in December 2019, we had quite a few number of participants, and now it's actually more than tripled to now where we have close to 1,400 participants in MANRS. And then this would loosely correlate to also the ASNs being claimed by these participants. More ASNs, more participants we get on MANRS, the better routing security will be. And then below that, we actually can then see a breakdown of more of these metrics throughout the years, all the way back to 2020. And then again, more readiness scores. And this is quite a good chart where you can actually see the percentage of participants lagging is actually reducing for RPKI, and the adoption is getting better and better. So that's quite a visually striking chart. All to say this is why the observatory is actually really good for adoption for these standards. This is one of the better pages that I really find engaging, because we can then actually start comparing different months and how they've stacked up. But more crucially, you can then compare different economies, for instance. So if we add the United Kingdom as a metric for comparison, and then we can see how it stacks up to the United States, for instance. And then I'll make sure it's set to May, not the current month. And then you can kind of see how they will stack up for the different metrics that feed into the readiness score. So as you can see, the United States is actually 32% for M7 RPKI, and United Kingdom is actually slightly above the global average with 62% instead of 52%. So this is quite a useful chart that actually has a lot of meaning and allows you to drill down quite a lot. For instance, again, you can see the bar charts that also show the RPKI. So the valid rowers, the percentage of valid rowers that are being routed. So that is a really useful page that I think, again, all contributes to safer internet. So lastly, you have the rower stats page, which again is just a visual breakdown of what percentage of rowers are valid, what percentage are actually invalid, and then there's a big chunk of unknown, which is just due to the data sources. Then the last page that I do want to highlight, and because these pages are actually for participants, so they're specific to a signed-in participant. I've created a dummy account which doesn't actually have access to any ASNs, but I did want to show off this page because when you are a MANRS participant and you have claimed ASNs and you have access to them, you can actually see the score breakdown for the ASNs that you have claimed. So I have taken some screenshots from an ASN, but have anonymized what ASN we are looking at. And I just want to show you what that breakdown when you drill into an ASN shows. So at the start of this page, you actually see how this particular AS is stacking up with the readiness scores. So with the M2 readiness score, the filtering, you can see what metrics are actually feeding into it to determine that this is a readiness score of 84. And then you can see a 6% for the lagging routing information RPKI, and you can see the breakdown as to why this has happened and resulted in a 6%. And then so on with the other readiness scores. And then below that, you actually see the score history. So you can see why this AS, how this AS has performed through the various months as well. And then an additional breakdown in terms of the announcement data, the registrations, and the RPKI coverage, and the ROV deployment. So observatory, this is all the same information you had in the observatory, but again, it's just a lot more snappier, looks a lot better, visually way more striking, and in terms of a development perspective, experience for us, we will now be able to roll out features for this initiative way quicker, way easier, and it's a lot more maintainable going forward. I quickly now just want to highlight a few things, because with any change, there is some things you need to bear in mind. We have spent some time actually getting the documentation really quite right for this. So we have an API migration guide. Any participants using the V1 API, it's still present, but we will slowly be deprecating it and ensuring that everyone switches to V2. So this is a big guide that will run you through all of the nuances of V1 to V2. Again, all of the data remains the same, but it might be in a slightly different place. And then also there's the FAQ. Within this portal, you do have the ticket section where you can create a ticket and reach out to us for questions. What we've noticed is actually there were a lot of similar questions being asked through the ticket. So we've got this FAQ when you create a ticket, and also a much more fully fledged FAQ explaining the readiness scores, why you might often see 49% for anti-spoofing M5 metric. A lot of questions have been asked and answered here. So definitely recommend reading the FAQ. And then, yeah, lastly, want to also highlight the MANRS website, which does also go into the measurement framework and what all of these different scores and how they're derived. So I definitely really encourage reading that. And then, yeah, lastly, want to talk about the API migration. With this change, we also are in active development for a Golang SDK and a Python SDK. And then with other SDKs on the roadmap going forward. So we released MANRS yesterday, and we are very imminently going to be releasing an SDK for Golang and Python. So just to highlight that, the dev team are very engaged in this project and are actively rolling out new features now that we've done the rebuild. And I believe that's it. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you very much, Scott. It's looking pretty good. Does anybody have any questions about the new MANRS Observatory platform? So I'm going to post the registration. If anybody isn't registered on the MANRS Observatory platform, please do create yourself an account, and you'll get a little bit more information about Scott ran through there. You can see what exactly is going on there. Okay, so right. Well, thank you, Scott. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that. And let's go on to our last presentation of the day, which is insights into routing security, and it's going to be presented by Yolandi from GKIX. So Yolandi, hello.
Hi, Yolandi.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much. Let me just pull up the presentation. Give me a minute. All right. Okay, good. So
Yes.
hi everyone. My name is Yolandi, and I'm the Interconnection Community and Academy Manager at GKIX, and today I will be chatting to you about the Interconnection Academy. I just want to see this thing is not doing what it's supposed to. Let me do it this way. It's just moving by itself. Okay, so the Interconnection Academy and where it comes from. Oh, it's still doing it. The Interconnection Academy was established in, I'm sorry, something is just not working on this thing. Just give me a second. I think I can see what the problem is. Sorry about that. It's good now. I think it's gonna behave now. Yes. Okay, so back to the story. The Interconnection Academy was established back in 2021 by DKIX and UPF, which is a university in Barcelona. And the main focus around the Interconnection Academy is to educate young professionals and students about the interconnection industry. And this is touching not only, as you can imagine, DKIX being an IXP, it's not just about topics related to IXP, but everything that touches the interconnection ecosystem. So this could be data center, security, cloud, subsea cable, terrestrial cable, ISP. So there's many factors that go into the interconnection ecosystem. And what we discovered is that there's a lot of good education and learning platforms that exist to teach people about what on different topics in the interconnection ecosystem. And most of it is actually technical, which, yes, is fantastic to have. The problem that we have is for our non-technical people. It's very difficult for them to catch up and understand what interconnection is about. So some of the topics are maybe too technical for them to really understand why do we do what we do and how this whole industry comes together. And this is the gap that we want to fill. Alongside that is that we want to create a knowledge hub. So what we also see is that these learning platforms that exist are scattered on the internet. So if you're new to the interconnection ecosystem, it's really difficult to know what to look for and where to find the information that you need. So what we're looking to do is kind of bringing all of these good educational material together and pointing students and young professionals in the right direction to find what they are looking for when it comes to education on interconnection. Now, we believe in connecting knowledge anytime, anywhere. And why we say this is that the Interconnection Academy is a fully online, on-demand platform where you can sign up and complete modules as and when you have time. I myself have this problem where I get distracted with work, with life, and all of that, and not necessarily have the time to really put down, a full week to do training. So with the Interconnection Academy and with most online learning platforms, we can now schedule in time as professionals and young students to educate ourselves as and when we have time. And we want to reach as many people globally as we can. Now, again, as I mentioned, established back in 2021, we are wanting to combine technical as well as commercial business education of interconnection and peering into one platform. How we deliver this, as I mentioned, it's a NanoMOOC format, so it's online. It varies in timing, so it could be anything from a few minutes, which can go up to a few hours, depending on what module you are looking at. The type of learning programs we have is microlearning, general module, and career path. Now, as we mentioned, there's some differences in the modules when it comes to timing. So for instance, a microlearning can be anything from a few minutes up to 30 minutes. And these are focused on quick skill refreshers or introductory topics to just get you to understand a term or a concept, just to introduce the topic to our students. General modules are focused training with assessments. So these modules are focused on doing a bit of a deep dive to really get you to understand the topic. So for instance, network management, BGP, understanding what an IX is, and those kinds of topics we do deep dives into. Then we have career paths. Now, this is something we have been working on and that we would like to introduce quite soon, hopefully at the end of this year. Career paths is focused on helping you prepared to step into a certain role. So if you are wanting to become a network engineer, a peering manager, edge capacity manager, whatever it may be, we want to give you a learning path that can prepare you to step into such a career. So these modules will basically be a compilation of general modules that you require to step into the role that you want to apply for or that you are dreaming to actually become. Available now, as I mentioned, we have a few modules available, and there's a good mix of what we have created ourselves as DKIX and UPF, along with our collaborators, which we will get into next. So we believe that even though we are driving the project of the Interconnection Academy and we have a global view on what is happening in the interconnection ecosystem, we are not necessarily the experts in each and every topic that exists. And because of this reason, we are collaborating with industry experts and organizations that may already have a learning platform or have some good content that we can work together to put into a module to educate the audience, our community, on these topics. As of now, we do have a few collaborators, which include Internet Society, OIX, which is the Open Internet Exchange Federation, RIPE NCC, Flex Optics, Nomad Futurist Foundation, and of course, Global Cyber Alliance. One of the biggest topics that I personally am very interested in is MANRS, because routing security is a big topic. And if we have a look at what's been happening in the past few years when it comes to securing your network, we can see that there's definitely an increase in routing security incidents globally. So with MANRS, we really want to educate our community on the importance of actually deploying this and or not deploying this, but understanding what it's about and why we are doing this and how it works, how you can become part of the MANRS community, right? To get your network up to scratch with these standards. Now, with Global Cyber Alliance, they do have some great learning materials on their own platform. And as we mentioned, we believe in community and collaboration. So even though we only have one module from them, we would like to encourage you to take that and continue your journey with Global Cyber Alliance to really dive deep into this topic. So we are just giving you really the surface of what you need to know about MANRS. So we're looking forward on elaborating on this partnership with Global Cyber Alliance. And as Alejandro has mentioned, there's some other markets and other countries we would like to reach to really educate them on securing their networks. So with this collaboration, we really hope to reach those far-lying countries and regions that we have not yet had the opportunity to introduce to the topic ourselves in person at an event or whatever it may be, to really get some interest and educate them, even though, you know, down the road, we hope to go and visit them and really engage with that community and get them educated on this topic. So just to give you some insight in what's been happening at the Academy, as of right now, we have 629 users from 47 countries and 132 cities. So as you can see, we are really driven to spread the word and really share the education globally with different regions, countries, and cities. So we hope to grow this going forward, of course. We know that this will take time, but we do believe that we will be bringing some good quality content to our community. And with some great collaborators, as you've seen in the previous slide, we are positive that we will make a good impact onto the industry and hopefully get some new people joining us and make peering easier and more secure. Now, just to emphasize again, collaboration is the heart of the Interconnection Academy. So we believe that we cannot do it ourselves. And this is why we have collaborations with someone like Global Cyber Alliance to really bring together the content that we feel makes a difference in the forever evolving landscape of interconnection and peering. So if you have some suggestions on topics or some organizations or experts we can reach out to try and bring them all together into this knowledge hub to really spread the word and share the education as much as we can. We'd like to hear from you because this is a very important topic, and we feel that the more we talk about it, hopefully the more people we get interested and educated on the topic. So I hope to keep this short and sweet. That is basically just a quick overview of what the Interconnection Academy is about, a little bit about our collaboration with Global Cyber Alliance, and what we are hoping to see in future going forward with the collaborations and our new modules. So that is me.
Okay, Yolandi, thank you very much for that. Do we have any questions about the Interconnection Academy?
I see Alejandro has a question. Oh, thank you.
I was
Oh,
clapping.
another thing I forgot to mention, which Alejandro also emphasized, is our platform is also free to use. So we encourage you to sign up. There is no cost associated to it because we do believe that we need to share the education, and we hope to keep it this way going forward. So just so you know, it is free to sign up. You can do it at any time. All right, I think that is it. Guys, thank you so much for the opportunity to present. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for joining.
Super. Thank you very much, Yolandi. Really appreciate it as well. Okay, so very good. So I think that just about wraps up the first MANRS Community Meeting of 2026. I think it was really interesting, and I'd like to say a huge thank you to everybody who presented. So Scott, Yolandi, Alejandro, and Andre. But in particular, everybody who attended. MANRS is nothing without its participants, and it's incredibly important that we get support and that you continue to support the organization. This is what it's all about. It is all about community engagement and support for doing the right thing on the internet. So there is a second meeting later on today, just to cater for different time zone considerations. I think, Alejandro, it's being presented by Douglas, isn't it?
Yeah, Douglas. The session west for the Western Hemisphere, yeah?
Yeah, so that's at, let me see, 19:30 UTC today. So anybody who's really in for it should join there as well. And otherwise, thank you very much. Goodbye, and have a good day, everyone.